All right, so we are here tonight. So I want to say hello and welcome to all pet parents and the animal lovers who are joining us tonight. You are joining us here for the monthly Holistic Pet Teleconference, and we're so glad that you are here and that you're with us to learn about Serene Seniors, Quality of Life for Aging Pets, which is our topic tonight. And I'm Sue Ann Sasha Harnden. I'm an energy medicine practitioner and teacher. I'm an animal communicator, and I'm the owner of Fifth Dimension Healing Energy here in Clinton, New Jersey. And I've helped dozens of clients, people and pets, gain wellness, balance, physical, mental, emotional, even spiritual vitality through the safe and gentle practices of energy medicine. And my mission is to help you and your pets become the best version of yourself possible using these safe and natural approaches. And I want to introduce my co-host tonight. Go ahead, Cindy.
Hi, I'm Barangani Cindy Roundsville, and I am a homeopathic health consultant educator and the founder of BaranganiCindy.com. My expertise for over the past 30 years is helping women and men that are interested in using a natural method of healing for themselves, for their families, including the pets, to acquire health and well-being. By educating them how to use homeopathy, I offer homeopathic classes in person for pets and people. I also offer self-help classes, homeopathic classes, online video for everyday needs. Let me get started here. Sue Ann and I have known each other, I'd say about 5 years now professionally. And we have separate businesses. We share a passion for helping pet parents who want to help their animals in a safe and natural way. After several years referring clients back and forth, we decided to take an integrative approach to help pet parents. So we joined forces and created a holistic pet program. Together we offer programs to pet parents, educational resources, our monthly teleconferences, such as we're doing here this evening, live educational talks we do, and we also have the Pet Premier package, which we'll talk later about.
Great.
Joanne?
Yeah. So some of you are here with us online through Zoom, and I'll just spend a moment here helping you to navigate that for a better experience. As I said in the beginning, we are going to be recording this presentation, but only Cindy and I will actually be in the recording, so you don't have to worry about that. But we do ask you to mute yourself for any background. We'll be making sure we monitor that so we have a good recording quality for everybody. And if you're new to Zoom and you want to type in questions or you have something you need to get our attention with, I'm going to draw your attention to the bottom of your screen if you're on your computer, and notice there's a toolbar there. And one of the things that you will see is a chat box, and if you click on that, that will bring up a little pop-up window depending on how you've got your screen, whether it's in a tiled view or a full screen view. And chat is where we actually want you to type in your questions. If you're thinking about something or something comes to mind you would like to talk about during the live Q&A, the back half of our presentation, that's where we'd like you to type the questions in. So just as you think of them, go ahead and type them in chat, and then we'll take care of those live at the end of the presentation. Also, you have the ability to switch your views. So if you use your mouse and you navigate around at the top of your screen, you'll see it says a full screen. There's a little tile there. You can go to speaker view, active view. So you can actually change how many people and what you see on your screen. So you might want to play with that and see what you're comfortable viewing. And then you also have a little manage participant icon on the toolbar. It's about the third or fourth one in from the right. And if you click on that, you'll see that you have the ability to mute or unmute yourself. So that's really all you need to know for today's conference. We'll be taking care of all of the rest of the details. And like I said, we'll just be recording Cindy and I for the post-recording replay that we'll send out to you. So I think that's all I want to say there. So tonight we're presenting several case scenarios, and we're going to be taking those live questions relevant to the topic. We are talking about Serene Seniors, and we're talking about how to promote quality of life for our aging pets. And we're trying to give you some real life examples of how using the safe, natural, gentle approaches of energy and vibrational medicine can support pets as they go through this process of aging. And then even as they move from aging into the transition period where they're getting ready to leave us and pass from their physical body. So we'll be giving you some really great examples of the work that we've done with pet parents like yourself and how we've helped them and their pets navigate through that process. And also understand that, as we, just like us, as they age, they have mobility issues, they have some aches and pains and injuries, and sometimes there's a loss of vitality or interest, and things that are just very typical for the aging process for people are also true of our pets. And we also need to understand that pets do generally have a better understanding, I will say, of the death and dying process. It's a natural cycle of life, and they are very attuned to that. And quite often, they are ready when things are failing or they know their time has come. They're ready to pass on, but we're not. So we're not ready to let them pass on, I should say, because we're so attached. So, there are things that we can do to support each other through that process, and we'll be talking about some of that as we go through tonight's presentation. And after the live case scenarios that we'll be presenting, we'll be taking those questions. So have a pen and pencil ready or get ready to type in the chat. So I'm going to ask Cindy to start us off with the first case scenario. Go ahead, Cindy.
All right, I'd like to first ask everyone is what kind of animals do you have? You want to type into the chat. You have dogs or cats, you got farm animals. So if you want to type in and kind of see, or other kind of pets, we have an idea who's with us tonight. We worked with rabbits, hamsters, possums. Sue and I've had the honor and the privilege of working with some wildlife animals. We've worked with bears, squirrels, possums. We've worked with all kinds of animals we worked with over the years. All right, so we have dogs, cats, rescue dogs. All right, so we have mostly dogs here with us this evening. So the first case we're going to talk about is more about physical and structural health problems that animals get as they get older with age. You know how we do the same thing as we get older, we get aches and pains we start having. So I've helped animals over the years. I've had old injuries or new injuries. It could be a leg injury, a back injury. I've worked with torn ACLs I've worked with. And then you also have the animals have arthritis. And then also the animals you see commonly will have Lyme disease that mimic arthritic or sore achy muscles. And as we know, Lyme disease can look like a lot of other things that a lot of times gets misdiagnosed, it does. So the first case I want to share with you is a case that Sue Ann and I have worked with together with somebody recently that purchased our Pet Premier package. The pet had a ruptured spinal disc. So the client calls me up telling me that her 9.5-year-old miniature Australian Shepherd hind legs became paralyzed this past December from a ruptured spinal disc. A few days before rupturing the spinal disc diagnosis, and the pet was stiffness he had. He didn't want to walk around a whole lot. And she was kind of like, what's wrong with him? He seemed okay before. Like, why is all of a sudden? He didn't do anything strenuous for him to be acting this way. She had no idea. After the surgery, and the surgery was to clean out the spinal cord and to take out the fluid from the disc from leaking. After the surgery, he became completely paralyzed, he did. He also had a barking problem whenever she would leave the room. Now, he normally did that beforehand. He was a rescue. He normally did that beforehand. But since having this, he could not get around at all, he would bark anytime she would leave the room, not much more. So in homeopathy, we look for something we call etiology, never well said, some background information. So always want to find out what happened prior, what happened, what they actually calling me for, what is actually what's going on, to kind of get a better rounded picture. So what I had done was I had given him the homeopathic remedy pulsatilla. Pulsatilla is for abandonment, for a lot of barking, crying, the animals are whining a whole lot. And I also gave him pulsatilla also for the paralysis, or I should say the paralyzed hind legs I gave, because that matched who he was that had these symptoms. So a homeopathic remedy, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but in homeopathy, it's a boron Bluetooth, which you're mostly going to be seen in your health food store. Anymore, CVS carries them, Walmart carries them anymore. So it's the boron Bluetooth. And when we do it homeopathy for animals is that we like to dispense in a dropper bottle. We can use either a 1 ounce dropper or a 4 ounce dropper bottle. Usually it's 1 ounce dropper bottle. So what we would do is we would tap the bottle 10 times. It's called succussing. We would place a drop either on the animal's nose or somewhere on the body. As long as that remedy has touched their body, they have taken that remedy. Even if the remedy actually just ran right off their nose, they still have had that remedy. So that's what she did. She would give her dog pulsatilla once a day. And I also gave the dog also Arnica montana, is what I gave. So Arnica is used for trauma, sore achy muscles, trauma is what Arnica is used for. After giving her dog pulsatilla once a day, and arnica 3 times a day. Within 1 week, his barking was much less, the owner reported back. Every time she would leave the room, he had a little more of a delayed reaction when he went to bark. If she was gone too long, of course, he was going to bark because he missed her. He was also able to stand up and take a couple of steps and then fall down. So what she would do is she would be able to stand him up, get him up on his 4 legs, and then he'd be able to, take a step or two, not a whole lot, and then he would go down because his muscles have been atrophied from not being used. Now, I also want to share with you is that she also has been doing physical therapy with her dog. She took him, and I think Serene would know better what kind of a therapy it was, but it was a therapy where it was like a water bath. Mm-hmm. And so as long as he was on land, he could not stand up. When he was in water, his legs would move because he was buoyant. His leg was so they know he'd be able to move. It's just a matter of just getting him retrained all over again. So like I said, is after 1 week of taking the 2 remedies, he was able to take a couple steps, and then in order for him to move around from that point on, he'd have to drag his back legs. He'd have to do because he could not literally move them. He also, for the first time after 1 week on the remedy, he was able to have a bowel movement while standing. So she had him in diapers because they take care of him during the course of the day. So for the first time, he's able to stand up and actually have a bowel movement, which was, anybody who's had a back injury knows that when you have a back injury, the bowels shut down automatically. They do. And how you know you're improving is that as your back's getting better, you start having a sensation like, oh, I need to move my bowels. So what I did from that point on, because he was able to stand and his muscles were atrophied, I put him on the homeopathic remedy Plum. And that's what Plum is for lack of muscle tone. A week later, he was on the pulsatilla, he was on the arnica, continued with the arnica. We put him on Plum once a day. His legs were stronger, and he was able to walk around much further than just standing. He was actually walking around at that point. What he was doing. It was, to me, I was even amazed myself to hear how well the remedies work. You never know. You never know until you try the remedy what it's going to do. And he also was able to recognize that he was able to pee. Now, again, the whole bladder, urinary tract, and the bowels, all that shuts down. So he would go, but he had no control over it. So he was now able to recognize that he was going to pee, even though he could not control it. So again, the bodily function was starting to come back to life again, as you would not say. So for those who are not familiar with homeopathy works by matching the person or the pet's symptoms to what's called a homeopathic remedy symptom picture. Arnica's remedy symptom picture is sore, achy muscles or bruising or bleeding. So when somebody or pet has sore, achy muscles, you give them arnica, it stimulates the immune system and strengthens it, and it's the immune system that does the healing of the body. We have over 3,000 homeopathic remedies. We got to find some way to narrow the list down. So when you would tell me, when I would say arthritis, or you tell me a sinus infection, I already know a group of remedies that I've learned over the years, a group of remedies that fall into those categories. And then what I would do is I would look for the key symptoms. What makes the symptoms better or worse? Is it better with movement? Is it worse with movement? To kind of hone in on the actual, I may have 20 remedies in my head, but I got to find some way to hone in my list to get down to 3 or 4 remedies. Then I ask the client a couple of the questions about each remedy to confirm which one we really need to put them on first of all. So Anne, would you like to share some of the stories you have worked with?
Yeah, I'll give you a quick story. Again, we're on the topic of what to do as they experience more aches, pains, and inflammation. And the story I have to share is about an older dog, about 14, who had been suffering from hip arthritis. And her pet mom was very familiar with the technique of Reiki, which Reiki is energy healing. And its keynote is healing energy that provides deep stress reduction and relaxation, which is the gateway to all other forms of healing. And it allows us in that space of relaxation and deep relaxation to connect with the self-healing response that we all have. So the client understood the basics of Reiki, wasn't really sure, had never really worked with Reiki with her animal, but she asked me if I would be willing to try it and if I thought it would be a good thing to try because the dog was older. And at the time I came along working with her, she was on steroids and all kinds of medication. And she wasn't, the pet mom wasn't really happy with that. She herself wasn't really big on using prescription drugs and things. She really did want to do a more natural approach, but the inflammation was quite debilitating and the arthritis was quite advanced. So, she took the first path to go the traditional route, which is perfectly fine. But she thought, let me give it a shot. Let me try something different and see if I get any kind of different results, or if at least improves or maybe helps what I'm doing work better. So that was great. So we agreed that let's try Reiki. And, again, her dog was advanced in age, had been fairly mobile, but then suddenly, due to the aging process, over time, was losing confidence because her mobility was limited, because she had the pain and the inflammation in her hips and her back. She wasn't moving as well, and they had a multi-story house. And at one point, in going up and down the stairs, the dog actually fell. So she really lost her confidence. Now she was afraid to go up and down the stairs. So the pet parents were having to pick her up and carry her up and down the stairs. She wasn't interested in going for a walk because, again, she was afraid. She couldn't walk without a lot of pain. She really couldn't run around and play anymore. So, we're getting all these things that are sort of compounding, and now we're having quality of life issues, right? We're not seeing that more active, more engaged animal because things are getting more challenging every time they try to, use their body. So, and also she was getting side effects from the medication with her digestion and elimination. So there were a lot of compounding things that were happening here. So we decided that we would do distance Reiki treatments because of the inability for her dog to travel well, and also just because of our scheduling. And because Reiki is energy healing, it can be very effectively done over distance. I don't need to be co-located with the animal. I really work with pictures and with information from the pet parent through a phone consultation, and then I'm able to actually establish an energetic connection with that animal and facilitate that Reiki to flow to them, to their energy bodies, so that they can start relaxing and rebalancing, and the Reiki healing energy will affect whatever healing is most needed during the time of that treatment. So these are typically about 30-minute treatments. So we started out doing a couple of treatments a week, and we ended up continuing on for about 6 to 8 weeks. And we did see some good improvement within those first couple of weeks. And then she wanted to try some additional supportive therapies, including acupuncture, which we both thought would be a great thing because that would be a wonderful way to reduce the inflammation from arthritis. And so she reduced the Reiki sessions to about once a week and started to do acupuncture. Didn't see exactly the results she wanted, which surprised us both. So she kind of dropped the acupuncture after a couple of weeks and went back to doing multiple Reiki sessions each week. And really, after about 6 to 8 weeks, she was seeing a pretty significant improvement in mobility. Definitely the confidence and the fear had started to dissipate. The dog was a little bit more willing to try going up and down the stairs. She was able to start taking longer walks. So that was really great. So eventually, with those results, we got a better quality of life. So we had a pretty happy pet and a pretty happy pet mom. And I have to share this one little side note of this story. Over the course of these treatments, my client, pet mom, actually traveled, and she was used to doing these distance Reiki sessions, and her dog was really very tuned into when those sessions were going to occur. We set up regular appointments, and we did it in a part of the day where we knew she'd be quiet and not disturbed. And her mom worked at home sometimes, but in this one instance, she had to travel across country for a business trip. And so she said to her husband, I just want you to know that our dog, has this appointment, and she knows the Reiki is going to be coming, and she really likes it and relaxes. So just please don't schedule her or don't take her for a walk. It's, something that we've been doing really well with. Basically, don't mess it up. So she went on her trip, and the appointment time came, and I am here in my home office, and I'm tuning in, and I'm facilitating that Reiki and sending her that, healing energy, and she's, relaxed and taking in what she's taking, and our session goes the way it normally does, and it's very peaceful and calm. And I send her a little note with the here's what happened in the session. And then a couple of weeks later, I got a phone call from her, and she said, I really have to tell you the story. She said, our dog is doing great, and that's wonderful, but my husband had to fess up. He wasn't really a believer in what we were doing. He wasn't really sure it was all working. He wasn't really sure what this is all about. And so he decided he would sort of test it out while you were doing the treatment. And of course, our dog is very food motivated, she said. And he took some of her favorite treats, and he just pushed them right up under her nose during the time of her treatment. And he was shocked. She didn't even budge. She didn't open an eye. She didn't acknowledge he was alive, because she was all deeply relaxed in her little Reiki zone, and she was taking her Reiki nap and getting all that healing and feeling really good. and he could not believe it. So he really, wow, that's pretty amazing. So we were laughing about that, but it just goes to show, and he could also see the results. He could see that his dog was moving around more. She was more willing to take a walk. She was more confident with those stairs. She was a little bit more engaged and interested in playing. So all very good results of that. And again, something as simple as an energy healing treatment done on a regular basis, especially when you're dealing with a more acute situation, can be a really good path forward to providing that quality of life, to getting out of the inflammation, out of the pain, out of some of the fear and anxiety. So both the physical and the emotional level of that story. And that was all done through distance Reiki energy healing. So a great success story for that pet. Now I think we want to shift into another part of this story for the aging pets, and these kind of go hand in hand. So I guess I'll say it like this. It's a combination of doing things that are more palliative care. In some cases, you might think of that almost as animal hospice. And then there's a point where that palliative care sort of runs its course, right? And there really is the time when they are ready to transition. So we have a couple of cases that we want to tell you about today that illustrate both ends of that spectrum. Cindy, I don't know if you want to take the lead here. Go ahead.
Okay, sure. All right. So sometimes when we get older pets, like Sue Ann's, when we get older pets, they've been sick for a while, or they're close to the end, ready to transition on. And when you get a case like that, you have no idea what's going to happen with it. I always say that the best that we can do, if nothing else, is maybe make their quality up a little bit better than what they are right now, if we cannot address it completely. And then there's also times where, we just got to make them comfortable till they get till their time is up, whenever that may be. So a colleague of Sue Ann and I's consulted with me about her Labradoodle had a breathing problem. And she went on to tell me that the vet found a mass in his lungs in a place that was not able to be biopsied. So they had no idea if it was malignant or not. And the mass caused the Labradoodle to have labored breathing. He also had mucus in his lungs, he had. So I explained to her, she gave me some more information about what the symptoms were, about the labored breathing, how his chest was heaving, all those kind of things. And I explained to her that I would do the very best that we can do. I don't know what you don't know until you try the remedy, what's going to happen. And when I put him on a homeopathic remedy, and he started to improve. He took the remedy once a day, and he started to improve for only a period of time. He did. And then our colleague contacted Sue Ann and asked her to do an animal communication session. She asked for, get a little more of a rounded, get a more better perspective what's really going on, and how to better support him. So Sue Ann, would you like to take over from here?
Yeah, so it's a great example of sort of this integrative approach that Cindy and I have come to really hone over the last couple of years, because we were able to, with the pet parent's permission, share information about what came up in both sides of this case from her consultations and mine. And the animal communication. So what is animal communication? For those who don't know, animal communication is empathic and telepathic communication, where you're matching vibration with another being for the purpose of, in this case, interspecies communication, so a dog and a human. And as an animal communicator, you're trained to receive and perceive that vibrational information, which is really another form of energy medicine. But the information is coming across in that connection, and you are getting that depending on how your abilities are developed. It could be pictures, words, sounds, could be a whole conversation. It could be just a complete download, like a knowing of what's going on and getting a story from the pet's perspective. Takes the form of many different sensory inputs and outputs. And basically, I like to explain it as it's a little bit like being a translator at the UN. The pet and I are communicating on an energetic vibrational level, and then I am decoding that and turning that into human speak, so I can tell you, the pet parent, basically what information was exchanged. So that's what we did with this dog, and that was for the purpose of, again, as Cindy said, what do you need? We know that you're not feeling well. We know that you've been to the doctor. Are the medications working? Do you feel better from taking the medication? Do you feel worse? Is there any other part of your body that's hurting that maybe we can address? So really just trying to get as much information as possible from the pet's perspective about what's going on, where can we support, and what are their wishes and preferences. And we actually did a couple of communication sessions in the course of this whole case, but I'll leave it there for that one. And then we decided, based on the information that came out of that session and a conversation with the pet parent, that we would proceed with some regular Reiki treatments, so a couple of treatments a week. And in this case, I was able to travel to her house, and I brought a tool called the biomat. So the biomat is a crystal amethyst mat. It's embedded into this cotton-based mat, and it also has other therapies that are embedded in it, which would be negative ion therapy and crystal amethyst, and I'm going to forget the last one because it just flew out of my head, but it's a levels of healing, again, with vibrational healing, to be used with or without heat. But the biomat really supports the deep relaxation process, and it also has some detoxification properties that you can derive from using that. And it's a very passive therapy. Literally, the person or an animal just needs to sit or lay on it to get the therapeutic benefits. So it was another way to support the physical healing, relaxation, stress reduction that we needed, because clearly everyone was very stressed out because the animal's not well and the pet parents are concerned they're not well, and we get into that cycle where we're just stressing and upon stressing upon stressing. So we were able to do those treatments several times a week, and we also created a flower essence, and so I'll talk a little bit about that. Got this little blue bottle here. This is a little half-ounce dropper bottle, and this would be about the size of a stock essence that I would blend and custom create for you or your pet, as I did in this case. And then sometimes I also recommend people go get a little spritzer bottle. You can see these are both blue cobalt, because that's a very protective color, because we want to protect this flower essence, because this is literally pure vibrational medicine. It is information in a bottle using the healing wisdom from flowers. So similar to homeopathy, there are thousands and thousands of flower essences, singles that are just derived from an individual plant. And each one of those plants has a very unique set of healing properties and wisdom. Now, we're not using the aromatherapy parts of the flower like we would be in an essential oil or an herbal preparation. We literally have distilled it down to the healing information that plant has acquired over millennia of evolving, surviving, and thriving in its environment. And it actually creates a set of healing clues that we can take into our electrical system. So a flower essence is a very simple way to support pets in a natural way, because it's derived from natural substances, all the plants. And similar to homeopathy, you're going to get this in a dropper bottle, so you can actually dispense a drop or two on your hand, pet it into their paw pads, pet it on their fur, let them lick it off your hand. Or spritz it in the air, just mist it, a couple of feet above it, and let it sort of settle into the environment on the pet. Maybe when they're grooming, you'll do it. So great way, very easy to dispense, and it can be done around any other existing routine that you have. Doesn't collide with any other therapy or modality. So it's just information that you're providing for seeding and clues to help them with whatever challenge they're experiencing. So, as most of my dog clients do, this dog loved licking that flower essence off of her pet mom's hand, and was getting some healing clues and some information to support it in this palliative phase in the beginning, but then as we move more to the transition phase. So we just kind of worked it around. The flower essence is a great daily support tool. The Reiki we did a couple of times a week, 30 minutes at a session. And definitely helped with the stress reduction, because the pet mom was able to be there. She was also getting some of that Reiki. So really they were both able to sort of downshift, relax, and just be with each other and honor that special time that they had left with the family. So I think that's where I'll leave that story for the moment, because I know we're running short on time. So do you want to switch into another story here, Cindy, or do you want me to continue with another palliative care?
You can continue.
Okay, great. So I also had another pet parent who had two older black Labradors, a male and a female, both failing back legs, tumors, labored breathing. So we had a whole spectrum of challenges going on here. So mobility and breathing were the key challenges. I mean, to the point where, and if you know the breed, they're rather large dogs, and here's the pet mom having to pick them up and carry them basically, throughout the house or outside to do their business, and then, coming back in. So it was really getting to be very challenging for her to keep up with keeping them moving around the house and feeding them and making sure they could get out to do what they needed to do for eliminating. So she was already working with a holistic vet. She was also working with homeopathy. I think she was also consulting with you, right, Cindy? She was doing supplements. She was really doing everything that she could to support the animals through as much of what she could help with in terms of these issues. And then she called me and asked me about energy healing. So again, we decided that Reiki would be a great adjunct to everything else she was doing, and we would come and do those sessions once a week. Now, we had 2 dogs in that session, so we actually made them a little longer, more like 45 to 60 minutes, because they were also, they just needed a little bit more support because, again, it was a fairly acute stage by the time I got involved. And we also did offer them the biomat. So I brought it, and if they wanted to lay on it for a session, great. If they didn't, great. We gave them complete choice on how they interacted with us during these sessions, so they could be as comfortable as they wanted and take whatever they wanted and needed from those healing modalities. And we did that for about 8 weeks. And it was, again, nice because the owner was able to be there. She was able to also get some of that relaxation. When we can be de-stressed and relaxed, our pets also relax because we're relaxed, right? Because we do feed on each other's energies. So it's very important for all of them to be able to get that break in the stressful situation of the illness and the injuries they were dealing with. And then I have to say, ultimately, several weeks later, after we stopped with the Reiki treatments, I think the female passed first, and then it was several months after that before the male passed. So now we have, we've been doing palliative care. One of them has gone, into transition, and of course the pet that's behind and the family are now going through the grieving process. So now we're back to doing Reiki and flower essences to support that grieving process and that transition process. And we continued on with that until, again, the second dog had passed. And, she could at least feel comfort and that peace of mind knowing that she did everything possible she could to support those pets, during those 2 difficult challenges. And of course, the second one even more difficult because now it's mourning the loss of its sibling and having its own challenges. But these are great modalities that can bring relief in the palliative sense, the hospice approach, but also even things like flower essences. There are specific flower essences to support the transition process, but they don't speed it up. They're really just giving the animal clues about how and when it wants to see that process go so that it can do it really the way it wants to. And I'll share one more story about that while we're talking about it. So I had another client with a female golden retriever, an older gal, and Margie, and she was older, and she had a very large tumor mass that was also diagnosed as inoperable. She was really getting lethargic. She was quite uncomfortable with lying down. Her owner just said, is there anything that we can do, anything that you know of that would support her? And we decided, again, in this case, to facilitate Reiki. We did flower essences, so we prepared a custom flower essence. Now, this was a dog that really liked the flower essence. I think I may have gone through 3 preparations of a flower essence in the 6 to 8 weeks that I was supporting her, because the dog just, and I kept saying, we really only need a drop or 2 here and there. And she said, nope. She just, she would drink that whole bottle of flower essence if I let her. She did something about it. She just wanted the clues. So she kept, taking more and more and more, which is great because that's what we're doing. We're providing those healing clues. So it was really, she really just couldn't get enough of the flower essence, and she really did enjoy the Reiki. She would really fall asleep and deeply relax during those treatments, which was great. Now, I'll kind of switch gears on this and take this one all the way through the transition process as well, because after about 6 to 8 weeks of treatments, and then she wanted to continue on with the daily flower essences, we said, that's great. And I just said, keep me posted. Well, at some point after that, Margie did decline fairly significantly and fairly quickly. So her owner decided, you know what, I'm just going to have the vet come to the house. I'm just going to make it as peaceful as possible. She'll be in her home. That is basically the way I would like to have this happen. So they scheduled the vet consult to come out for a euthanasia. And it was a beautiful day, and the owner meets the vet, in the driveway, and they're talking on the front porch, and the vet is looking over, and she's like, wait, what dog am I here to euthanize? Because as they look over in the backyard, there's Margie and her little sister sibling running around like 2 puppies. And she says, I think today is not the day to do the euthanasia because they're running around like there's nothing wrong with them. So they agreed, and she said, thank you, and the vet took off, and my client went back in the house after a little while, and she looked in the house, and then she looked outside. At first she couldn't find the dogs, and then she went back outside, and what did she see? But there's Margie under her favorite tree in the backyard with her sister nearby, and she is peacefully sleeping, and she had actually picked her time and her place and passed away, because in her view, she did not want to be euthanized. She did not want assisted transition. She wanted to do it her own way. And she was able to do that, through having those healing clues and those helping clues from the flower essence, and then getting that support through the Reiki. So her pet parent was actually very pleased that that is the way it happened, that she got to choose her way and her time and how she wanted to do it. And so it was a really good outcome from that perspective. Yeah, so I think I'm going to leave it there, Cindy. What else do you want to share? Because I also want to make sure we have plenty.
Yeah, I have a little short one here I'd like to share. Homeopathy I over the years have worked with homeopathy and helping animals to let go and to move on. So my son's dog, Daisy, was 12 years old, was a golden retriever. And we knew it was coming to its end because it was having a breathing problem. She was very lethargic, was hardly eating. So we knew it was going to be in a matter of days when her time was going to be it. It happened to be around Thanksgiving, and we were just finished up eating dinner that evening, and she came over to me and just looked at me. Came over to my chair and just looked at me, and I asked my son. I said, "Can I give her 3 homeopathic remedies: arnica, carbo veg, and pulsatilla, to help her transition when it's her time?" Like Sue Ann says, we're not God. We're not playing God here. It's helping the animals to let go and to move on when it's their time. And that's what the remedies do, the same thing. After giving her these 3 homeopathic remedies, she walked over to her drinking bowl, took a drink of water, and then 4 hours later, my son called me to let me know that Daisy laid down in her favorite spot as if to go to sleep, and she just crossed over. That was it, he says. So when I commonly, like Sue said, I commonly hear this kind of things where the animal would just lie down in its favorite spot or a place that it likes to lay down at, outside, where it may be, and just lie down as if they're going to go sleep, just pass on very peacefully. So it's very peacefully for everybody all the way around when that happens, because it's more of a natural flow of light. That's just what it is.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Okay. Yep.
So let's transition here a little bit. So now we've covered a few pet case scenarios. Let's circle back around as to why you're here in the first place with us tonight. And that is to help your pet become and stay healthy in a safe and natural way. So what is health? Health, when something goes wrong, or you want a quick fix, or you want a cure, we're not thinking about what really is going on or what we want to achieve. So in energy medicine, like homeopathy, Reiki, and other integrative health approaches, what we're doing is we're seeking to rebalance the body's systems and energy fields to bring about optimal health and wellness. So what is health? Health really means there's 3 signs of health: increased or balanced energy, the pet feels better, more like a well-being feeling mentally and emotionally, and the sleep cycles improve or are more appropriate for who they are according to their age and their species. And when that happens, the pet's body systems, the digestion, the elimination, the appetite, all function normally and more appropriate for who they are. Dan, would you like to add on here or to share a little bit? Would you like to?
Yeah, I think it's actually a good time just to talk a little bit more about why, like you say, why are we all here, right? We're trying to find a more holistic, a more integrative approach, something that maybe more aligns with more, who we are, for more holistic minded or naturally looking for natural healing solutions. And, when you're using an integrative approach, you're more likely to get to the root cause of what is actually going on. So that's why we're kind of a big fan of the modalities we have. We're trying to get to that root reason for why the body is out of balance, and then help the body naturally rebalance itself and work the way it was intended to. And we all know how awful it is when we feel unwell, when we feel out of balance or something's out of sorts, and our pets are no different, and then we feel even worse because we're not really sure how to help them, because not most of us are not animal communicators and can't talk to them and find out what's going on, right? So our stress is compounded by our just really not knowing what is going on. So, you're relying on other people to basically interpret symptoms and hopefully get you to the right path. Well, working, with an integrative approach, that's the value I think Cindy and I can bring, is that we can bring our wisdom for, years and decades of doing this work, to looking at these cases in a different way and really trying to get to the root cause. And, while you're certainly welcome to work with each of us individually as practitioners, we think there's some great value in working with us collaboratively, and that's why we actually put together this Premier Pet Package. So if it's okay, I'm just going to take a moment and tell you a little bit about it, tell you what it's all about, and then how you can work with us in this collaborative manner. So what is it? The Premier Pet Package is really about 3 hours of focused attention on your pet. And what that actually means is we've broken it up so that there are 3 different treatments in the package. You will have one 30-minute animal communication session. You will have one 30-minute energy healing session. I've given you some examples of what that could be. It could be Reiki, it could be flower essence, it could be any of the other modalities that I do, which includes even energy medicine for animals or EFT, the tapping modality, and there are some others. So one energy healing session is included and one 30-minute homeopathic consultation, and that also includes the homeopathic remedies. So each of those has some free consultation time where we dive into it with you, we figure out what's going on here, and then we can guide you through it. We actually recommend that you do the animal communication session first because we find that that gives us the best running start because we now have the animal's perspective in the picture, and then we can formulate a plan with you going forward. Now, 3 different treatments, and you have 3 months to use them. And you can use this for multiple pets as well, so it's not a Sophie's choice. So if you've got multiple animals and they have different challenges and problems, you may be able to use, have several of them, in the animal communication session. You might even have a couple of them in the Reiki session. For homeopathy, it's a very detailed consultation, so we do limit that to just one animal for that consultation. But it also, again, includes the remedies, and it includes, all of these will include some kind of a follow-up call, debrief, check-in with you and with us to kind of see how the case is progressing. So all of that, and if you've ever gone to, we love them dearly because we're all part of the healing community, but, if you've ever gone to the vet for one animal, you're likely going to be spending several $100s for just one animal for a very brief visit. And we're actually going to be offering this Premier Pet Package for less than $200, which is our live talk special. Normally it runs about $230, but tonight and for the next couple of days after this live event, we're offering it for $197. And you just need to sign up in the next 48 hours in order to get the special price. You're welcome to book it any other time, but as a special offer for being with us on this live teleconference, we do offer you a discount for the Premier Pet Package. So again, that would get you started, and then we will contact you and we will get started with scheduling sessions for your pet. So it's a really good way to do it. You get a lot of value, a lot of service, you get our consultative time, you get the treatments for the pets, and you get that all for $197 and 3 months to use it and across multiple pets. So that's what we're offering with the Premier Pet Package. Okay, so let's see, do we have any questions? Maybe you want to leave some time for that. I can put the slides while we're talking if you want to take any questions. So any questions from the live chat or anything that we may have had submitted ahead of time, Cindy? I'm just going to put up these slides while we're talking.
Slides up, okay. The one question we have here is talking about well, it's not really a question. She shared with us how she uses CBD oil and how when using the CBD oil, I gotta find my chat here, having used the CBD oil, that she's noticing that her dog's arthritis has improved. She says here, I need to cut, what I say, oil, when she's taking the oil, she gets up out of this, gets up from the steps unassisted, and without it, she needs help. So that's what, so let me talk about CBD oil. I've been using CBD oils for probably about, I'm gonna say 2, maybe 3 years now. And I've used it on animals. I've used it mostly personally, I've used it for. And with CBD oil, it seems like the sicker you are, the better response you're gonna get from it, or the quicker response you're gonna get from it. When you're healthy, you're not gonna notice that much of symptoms. However, taking CBD oil has very good benefits for it. It's like taking a supplement. So whether you're sick or not, it's to take it once or twice a week or a couple times a week is really very beneficial to you. Now, I do know that there is, you have to be careful with CBD oil. And with CBD oil, you have to look at how it's made and the company that makes the product. They also have specific CBD oils for animals too. So you have to be careful, like I said, with CBD oil is the cannabinoid oils, what CBD stands for, cannabinoid oil is what it is. And what it does is they're finding that the cannabinoid, endocannabinoid receptors in our brain, the CBD oils kind of like fills in those blanks. Is what it does. Fills in those receptors and like regenerates them, gets them going. So it has a lot of great benefits to it. Like I said, I've used it personally. I just take it just as a little maintenance kind of a thing. You know, like I said, it helps a lot of stuff. Janet, do you have any questions? Anybody else have any questions? You want to we unmute? No questions now? Okay. So some of the questions we often get from clients, or even doing our talks, I should say, is what if my vet does not believe in holistic approaches? So I've had it where, even with people, working with consulting with homeopathy with people, is that you're going to find some doctors are open-minded and some doctors not. Sue Ann and I did a case recently we did where the vet did not know what to do with the animal. You know, he was lethargic. The animal wasn't moving around a whole lot, and the vet ran all kinds of tests on, and he actually said, "I think I'll look at something holistically." He didn't know. He did not know what else to do. He did not know. So we ended animal communication with the dog, and then what we did, as it came to find out, is that the animal actually had a problem. Never well since. It was boarded. So because of where it was boarded at, it had got illness came about what happened with it. So some vets are open to it, some vets are not. We all want to get the animals well, including the vets. So it depends. I say even with people, I say to them, if you think your doctor is going to be receptive to what you're doing, then fine. Let them know what you're doing. If you don't think they're going to be receptive to what you're doing, then I suggest you not to say, because a lot of times they get kind of very upset about it. The remedies are not going to interfere with the medication. I have clients, whether it be animals, whatever it may be, that use antibiotics, use a regular medication. When there's remedies, the ways to work remedies around the medications. So if I have a client who's taking Synthroid, whether it be or a client or even a pet that has a thyroid problem, taking Synthroid, whatever they're taking on a daily basis for several years, I legally cannot stop them from taking that medication. I'm not a doctor. I'm a health consultant educator. So over the years, there's ways to work remedies around, learn how ways to work remedies around so they can still take their medication and still use homeopathy they can do. And like Sue Ann said earlier, is that with the flower essence, that does not interfere also. It just gives the hidden message that animal needs at that given time, does not interfere at all with the medication. So like I said, there's ways of working remedies around it. What else? Another question I have here. How do I know if the remedies are working? Or how do I know what you're doing is working? Well, I think we gave some really good examples here. You know, the 1 week, within a week's time, the animal was getting up, able to stand up. Sue Ann shared a few, how the one dog, how the Reiki, even though it was distance, how the dog was responding, improving, getting up and down the steps and stuff like that. It depends on what the illness is, and it depends how long they had the illness. If somebody or animal just sprained their leg or just sprained it and you have a sprained injury, I'd be looking for improvement within 24 hours. Sometimes within 3 or 4 hours, I'd be looking for improvement. I don't mean gone, I don't mean cured, but I mean improving. They're a little bit easier getting up. You're looking for. They're a little more responsive, a little more. Let me say more engaged what's going on around them. Instead of being sick, instead of being not feeling well, like kind of humdrum, kind of I don't feel well kind of feeling. So it depends. Whether it be a skin problem, I would look for a change within a week's time with a homeopathic remedy. I would look for 5 to 7 days, what I would say. What else can I tell you that we get calls for? It depends. The more acute the symptoms are, would be a headache. Something's happened in the last 24 hours or last couple of days. I'd be looking for a change within a couple of hours and improve it. If it's something that had like a skin problem, ongoing symptoms they've had, it could take a little bit longer. Within a week's time, we're looking for improvement. Jan, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, it's very variable from my seat as well. It depends on how long they've had it, what else is going on. sometimes, you know, we laser in on one part of the whole picture and we're working with that, but there's multiple and mitigating factors, you know, in every case. So really that's the point of having the pre-consultation calls, to really get a good picture of what's going on, you know, what have you been trying, what are you doing now, and what do you feel like would be a good approach, and then we can kind of look at what's in the healing tool bag here and advise you, you know, this or that might be the next best step based on what we understand in your case. And again, you know, we're not doctors, we don't prescribe, we don't necessarily diagnose, but we do have a lot of modalities that will help rebalance the body to do what the body was meant to do, and that is self-healing. And they will work alongside, and in some cases, instead of other modalities or other traditional care that you might be using. So, you know, if one of my clients says, I've tried everything else, why wouldn't I just try this too? And you might be surprised at the results you get. This might be one of these modalities we talked about, might be the thing that sort of kicks the case forward and really spurs the healing response, and then everything else you've been doing kind of falls forward and starts really working a lot better. You know, it could be the point where you're stuck, and this is the energy medicine is the thing that unblocks that stuckness and allows that self-healing to happen through either what you were doing before, if you continue to do it, or move along just with the modalities we're talking about. So either way, no side effects, very gentle, very safe, because they're energy-based. Pets respond very well to them because it's a much more natural approach for them. It's what they would do in nature. You know, a lot of these modalities, with homeopathy and flower essences, are made from natural substances. Reiki is energy healing, so there's just, you know, a lot of ways that the pet will connect more naturally to stimulate that self-healing response that it has using this approach.
Any other questions? You think maybe we can unmute them, Sue-Ann, and see if they could?
Sure, yeah, I'd love to.
Let me try that.
Do a little open Q&A here. So.
Any other questions? Anything we talked about? You might want a clarification or anything else. Any other topic we thought we were talking about this evening that you might want to ask what our approach would be? We got a quiet group tonight.
We do. Yeah.
That's all right. That's okay.
Did you guys like being on the Zoom call?
I hear you giggling.
Mute everybody. Being on
everybody. I'm sorry, I came in late. This is Amy. I came in a little late. I'm pleased and tickled to see Janet Roper here on the call.
Hi, Amy. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
This is awesome.
Good.
Any questions? Anything that we talked about, or anything else you might want to know how we worked with? What I want to say is, like what Sue-Ann said before, is that a lot of times when people go to alternative energy medicine, like Sue-Ann mentioned, a lot of times it's like last resort.
Mm-hmm.
And where we tried everything else, what else are we going to do? And in our pet package is that we offer like I said, the 3 sessions. And the first session we recommend you do is animal communication. You'd be surprised the information that an animal will get. I was talking before about the animal that Sue-Ann and I worked with that, you know, it was lethargic. What happened with that animal was that they did a session. Sue-Ann did an animal communication session with the animal, and the animal said that he did not like who he was staying with, the woman at the boarding place. And the owner was quite appalled about that, because it's like, you know, she always thought he was happy every time she went to pick him up. When I got the case, started doing the homeopathic consult, I always look for etiology, never well since. And when I started working with the case, I asked the woman, like, what happened prior? You know, here it is, the dog's lethargic, not moving around. What happened prior? And then she said, well, it happened before his sister passed away. And she was going backwards in time. It's kind of tagging things. And finally she says to me, oh, come to think of it, she says, for a weekend, something happened in the family. They had to take him to a different boarding place where he normally was going to. And she said when she went to pick him up, he could not walk. She had to carry the animal out, she had to do. So that's when I said to her, I wonder if maybe the communication a little bit mixed up there. I mean, Sue-Ann's only interpreting what the animal says, you know, and trying to put into human, you know, it's almost like, you know, trying to, you know, do another language into English. And if you don't quite know the language, you know, as well as what the dialogue, what they're carrying, what they're talking, sometimes a little bit hard to translate it. So that's when we put 2 and 2 together. And we realized that ever since she took him out of this one boarding place, that's when he started the problem. And what he said in the communication was that he didn't like the lady. She was hollering a whole lot. He was scared. He was traumatized. And that's what happened with the animal. So we had to go back and work with remedies for the anxiety that the animal felt. And within a week or so, that animal was up walking around. You know, he was less lethargic. He was moving around. So we had not done the communication. If she just brought the case to me, I would have said, okay, lethargic, you know, is it anything wrong with the muscle, anything wrong with you know, any kind of structural problem I'd be looking for? And I'd be racking my brain trying different remedies. Yeah, I may hit it, you know, and I said, you know, not all my cases all go to animal communication. I do get cases like that, and I got to try different remedies back and forth. And then sometimes it happens, and you know what? We need a clinical diagnosis, or you have to go talk to Sue Ann. Have Sue Ann do animal communication, kind of see what's going on. If we had not had that communication, I would not have even asked. You know, we would not have put two and two together about this other person. So by putting the animal on a remedy for the anxiety, for the fright that the animal had, that's what got that animal moving. So that's where the sessions come very handy. And then Sue Ann also did some energy work on the animal, on the pet also. I think you also did another animal communication.
Another communication, yeah.
Yeah, you did with the animal.
Yeah, because he had
together.
Yeah, he had the kind of lethargic. One of the things that came out in the second communication was he said, you know, I want to go for more walks, which was great because, you know, he had been so lethargic. So, and she was surprised about that too. And she said, you know what, you know, he told her he wanted to go out and really smell the flowers and, you know, investigate and walk on the paths and be in the forest and leaves. And she couldn't believe it. She said, I would have never thought that a couple of weeks ago because he just didn't have any interest in anything. So, you know, he got over what was really kind of holding him back. And she said, you know, he was like, you got a whole new lease on life, you know, a whole new animal, even at an older age. So you just never know what is going to come out of these cases from the information they share and, you know, that they can get that second lease on life. You know, they can go back to being their younger self, you know, and experience whatever else they want to experience, even though they're an older animal. So great.
I have a quickie question. I just had a consult today with a family a medium who asked me to consult on a case where the dog had a lot of separation anxiety. And I got what I got, and it wasn't enough. So she called me out on it, and she goes, I need you to go deeper. So I did, and I dug a little deeper, and interestingly enough, the separation anxiety was not with the family he's with now. It was his family before this family.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was like, whoa, it's kind of like what you just brought up about it wasn't that boarding facility, it was the one before that, you know? So yeah, so digging deeper. Is there a flower essence what would you recommend for that type of separation anxiety where
well, there are actually a couple that are basically, one is called Separation, which is a common. The other is called Anxiety, which is also a spectrum flower essence for those things. And it might be, depending on what is happening now, it could be something, another essence called Neediness. Now, it's funny, they have some single kind of keynote names, but literally each of those flower essences, for the ones I use, has probably 20 or 30 single essences in it. Because they cover a spectrum, it's a spectrum type formulation. So when you start combining them, you start to get additional synergies between those different things. And depending on what happened in that, you know, prior situation, we might be even doing things like abandonment and abuse is another spectrum formula. Every one of my adoptee, ferals, anybody who's been anywhere else, I pretty much give everybody abandonment and abuse because you don't know what happened before they came into your life, right? You don't know what trauma they're holding on to, what sadness, you know, traumatic, could be physical, could be a mental, emotional. So it's just, those are things that, again, you want to get them all those clues so they can release that and move past those energies that are stuck or holding them back, and then get back to, you know, having a more balanced approach to their current situation.
Yeah, you see that a lot with rescues. Rescues, a lot of times you'll see that with is that, you know, they get that rescues are so glad to be taken care of, so glad to have somebody to love them.
Yeah.
But you don't know where they came from. Especially we've had this past year. Like, you know, were they in bad water? Were they bad food? Were they scavenging? Who knows where they came from? And then here you are, you get this animal. He may have parasites. He may have skin problems he may have because of what he had to endure in order to survive.
Right.
Yeah, I wasn't really clear about what happened to his former family. So that wasn't really clear, but I didn't really pick up any kind of abuse. But I just think there's a grieving process that happens when there's a transition, whatever the nature of the rehoming is. I'm not really sure of I didn't get into details. I didn't get the details, so not really sure. I know that the dog is on Prozac right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I'd like to see.
And see, in those kind of consultations, that would be my consultation. We'd get into that a little bit more deeply about whatever you know, right? You don't know the other ones, but we can also tell somewhat by how they're behaving now what we might have to address that might have happened in the past. So, and then with the communication, we can get some additional insights, as you were speaking about, because not only, just like with people, right? You have one communication, they don't necessarily tell you their whole life story in that first 30-minute consultation, right? So we have layers of trust and sort of information sort of drip out as there's rapport and trust. And so sometimes it does take a few sessions if it's a really embedded pattern or something they're feeling ashamed about, or they're not sure it's safe to communicate, like don't know what's going to happen if they tell you. Come back on them because that's happened to them before. I've had a lot of painful stories that animals have told me about trust issues and things that they thought they were doing everything right, and then it came boomeranging back, and now they're rehoming, and now they're in a worse situation. So you can understand, just like with a person, there's a certain level of trust and rapport there about what's going to happen. So that's that is why we do the communication, and that's why we have things like flower essences and homeopathy and things, because we have to work those kind of cases at the physical and the emotional.
Thank you.
Help them to move on.
Yeah. So again, you're welcome to talk about a flower essence consult or a adjunctive animal communication to see if they want to do a consult. We'd be happy to talk about that offline.
I do have a question. Where do you get your flower essences from?
I use a line out of New Hampshire called Green Hope Farm.
Okay.
I find them to be very, very effective, very high vibration, very high quality. They are not preserved in alcohol. They're actually preserved in a white vinegar and an herbal called red shiso. And I've been using them for probably over 5 years now, and tremendous success with pets. I have used a couple of other lines. I have not seen nearly the same rate of success that I have with the Green Hope line, so that's my personal preference. There are many other flower essences out there. Of course, the most common thing would be the Bach flower remedies that people have probably see, those little yellow bottles. They come in droppers, they come in sprays. They, I think, now do have a non-alcohol preserve line, might be glycerin, but most of theirs are alcohol-based. And there are some others out there. I've used Cat Fairies is another line that I like.
What is that line?
Cat Fairies, and it's an odd spelling of fairies. It's the Old English spelling of fairies. Okay. Cat Fairies. And they have some other great products, by the way, for cats too, besides flower essences. But they do have a cat-specific line of flower essences, and that's why I kind of checked them out, because I have 2 cats at the time I started using them. But I have to say, just, for go-tos, the apothecary I have now is pretty much, it's the Green Hope Farm, because there are many, many flower essences in their catalog. They're always coming out with new ones. They do a lot of work also with the angels. So there's a lot of, I find it a very high quality flower essence line to use. So that's what I would refer you to. And I, can order those for you, and then I custom blend them for all my clients. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I need to leave. I need to feed my boys.
Yeah, we're
good boys. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. We appreciate you being with us. And
you bet. Take good care.
Thank you. Thanks for being with us. We are going to be sending out a recording for those who are able to join us live. And I think we're ready to wrap up now. Anything else that we wanted to say?
If you're interested in the Pet Premier Package, but speaks to you, you have until this Thursday, June 24th, to reach out to Sue Ann or I, and then we can offer this special live event package price and then watch your inbox. We'll be having some more information will be sent to you in your inbox in case you're interested, along with the recording will be sent to you also. Yeah. All right, so thank you for joining.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you. Don't
Have a
forget to
great
follow us
evening,
on
everyone.
Facebook and check in with us through the Holistic Pet Gals on Facebook, and we'll be putting up more programs like this as we go along in the summer. So thanks for joining us tonight. All right.
All right. Have a great night.
Good night.